I'll let you introduce yourself and Steve, Mitch.
Yeah, no, thanks, Rod.
But and how you want to run the program, but for everybody's benefit, Octopus Digital, business owned by Mitch and Steve, who you'll get the pleasure of listening to in a minute. They're actually our website designer, developer, and have been working actively with us for the last 6 months on helping Transcend get a digital presence, which we had nothing of beforehand. And today what they're going to talk about is two particularly important facets. One is the importance of a website and what a good website and a not so good website looks like, and also SEO itself and the importance of SEO. If I could ask you to go on mute, because I don't like listening to myself, and I'm sure Mitch doesn't as well.
I love hearing myself, Rod.
All righty. Over to you, Steve, and over to you, Mitch.
Well, hi, guys. I'm Mitch. I think I should probably put that on the so you know who's who. I'm Mitch, and we've got Steve, and we're like Rod said, the directors of Octopus Digital. We're based here on the Mornington Peninsula. Sounds like we've got a lot of really interesting businesses here. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. I appreciate it. I know Christmas is coming and everyone is super busy. So today is probably going to run through for about an hour, I guess. And there'll be some, like Rod said, we're going to talk about digital marketing. We're going to talk about the importance of web. We're going to talk about the steps that we go through when we're building websites for our clients. Then we talk about how we market a website. So we use SEO typically or Google Ads, but lead generation strategies. And then there'll be some time for some questions at the end. So please also, throughout the course of the presentation, we're happy to, I'd much prefer to have banter and chat to you guys than just sort of be talking. You might get a bit water hearing my voice after a while. So if you do have questions, just throw them in the chat. We've got Steve or I will be talking, and we'll be able to stop and talk about anything you guys are interested in. Sounds like we've got a lot of startup businesses here. Hey, Steve.
It does, yeah. Actually, I also involved in music production, and we've got a drop shipping business as well, and also involved in trauma and some somatic integration as well. So yeah, know a bit about some of the industries you guys are in. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Look, guys, I don't know what you guys think digital marketing is, but I guess one way, the way that we look at it and the way that we talk about it is it's all about communication. Now, I guess one thing we all have in common, everyone's business here is very different, is that we all have different strengths, but we all have to communicate those to a target audience. So we've all got an audience, so a target audience of people we want to be talking to, a clientele, a demographic, So communication, it's obviously super important. When we use digital tools like a website, like email, like social media, to communicate our message for our clients with their target market. So I guess the reality is, the one thing we all do have in common is the reason people are coming to your business is they've got a problem, and you've got to be the solution to those problems. So that's, I guess, what we've got to really sort of get clear really early is about how you knowing your solution to your client's problems. So knowing who your customers are and knowing how you can solve their problems. I guess, so in essence, that is what digital marketing is communicating to your key target audience about your brand, about your messaging, about how you can solve their problems. So a bit about, very quickly, we won't talk much about us for very long, but just so you sort of understand who we are and why we can sort of get up here and say what we say. Octopus Digital has been around for about 4 years. We've got well over 100 clients now. I think Steve told me it was 130 the other day, active clients, which is great. We're growing, but we all of our clients are small and medium-sized businesses, just like yours, and they're all sort of, I'd say, majority of them are based on the southeast of Melbourne, but we also have clients in Sydney and some international clients as well. Steve and I have both been doing this for a long time. I've been in the industry for about 30 years, and so has Steve. Steve actually has been building websites since '94. Steve, do you want to tell the guys a little bit about your website experience?
Yeah, so I mean, I started programming with computers, like hacking computer games in the mid '90s, and then my dad was in the print industry, and then he sort of ended up asking, do you reckon we could build a website? So the first one there was in '97, and then which was pretty easy compared to programming at the time. There was no images, there was no design really, and then did our first commercial website in '99, and then managed to get an internship sort of after that for a new media company. So I've been in the industry a while, building websites and for all its changes, and then just helping those websites get found in search engines. So yeah, that's my background in that space.
Steve is very modest. Steve's worked on some really huge websites like Nike, like Jagged, Rolex. So and I guess for me, my background is I'm from Sydney, so don't hold that against me, but I'm from Sydney, moved down to the Mornington Peninsula about 7 years ago. But I was in an agency in Sydney and we were working on really big brands like Telstra, Porsche, Google. Look, I guess when Steve and I came together to form Octopus Digital, we were both had the same mentality that we wanted to take our experience from sort of big agencies and help translate that to small to medium-sized businesses, because that's what we were. That's what we had passion in helping. We also had, young families. So we wanted to be have a business which we could sort of work with and help clients, but also help our businesses and help our families at the same time. So look, for Octopus Digital, we put a lot of importance and stress on the website. So the website really is your foundations for your marketing, for your brand, for your business. Because most of the activity we do when we try and grow a business is that we have to convince people who don't know you. So a website's great, and some of you probably have one and some of you don't, but the real importance of a website is it's converting strangers. It's talking to strangers. People who know you, they're probably not going to go to your website. They're probably just going to call you or they're going to email you because they've already got your details. And that's where a lot of your business is going to come from, obviously word of mouth, but it's that additional business, that additional confidence and trust that a website brings from strangers, which is what we focus on. So getting a website built right is super important. And then we have a whole lot of strategies on how we drive traffic back to that website. And that can be along the lines of SEO, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. It could be ads, it could be social media. They all have a play, but reality is it's always sending people back to this one place, this website, which is the foundations of where you've got to build this confidence and trust with these strangers that your business can solve the problems that they have. So this is why, having a website, while you can have, all sorts of different types of websites. I mean, my 10-year-old can build you a website, but it probably wouldn't be that great. But building a professional website that builds confidence and trust with strangers is sort of the goal for the businesses that we work with, and particularly the ones that really want to grow.
Just add as well, if you've got an e-commerce business, you're trying to do something really difficult, which is to get someone to take their wallet out and spend money. So the website needs to look, professional, needs to build trust. You need to have the right privacy policy, terms and conditions, because to get someone to take their wallet out and put their credit card into your website, it needs to sort of tick a lot of boxes.
I'd be really interested to know who already has a website for their business. Can we, I don't know if you could put your hand up here or in the chat, a lot of people have done it. Who did it themselves? I can see lots of people hands up. And that's very standard, particularly when you're starting out and you've got, limited resources and you sort of you're still learning your way. It's amazing the amount of times that we've redesigned our website to the point where we still have to redesign. When Octopus Digital is going to redesign our own website again over the Christmas break. But your website will constantly change. It's one of those ever-growing organisms that isn't static. It always needs to be maintained and updated, and your business will pivot and it will grow, and your website will too, probably. So, look, there's lots of reasons to have a website. Look, I mean, I guess. Is it important for every business? I mean, they're the sort of questions we get asked often. Do I really need a website? We definitely believe you need a website, but there's different businesses out there which a website has different value. Like Steve just mentioned, e-commerce. I mean, obviously that point makes a lot of sense. E-commerce, your website is your business. It's your shop front. It's that's where people come to buy your product. but a lot of your other businesses out there, and we're obviously just touching on what you guys do, but it sounds like there's a lot of health related businesses. There's probably a bit of trade, a bit of service-based businesses in the group here today. Look, you've all got to build this confidence and trust. Now, I guess reality is, why do we need a website? Well, we're in a digital age. Even though you might be getting, say, I'm going to get all my business from word of mouth, like quite often those word of mouth referrals are still going to go and search for you. They're still they've been told about you by a friend or a relative or whatnot, but they've got to go and find you. So look, we're digital, they're going to search you. Where you think about yourselves, just use your common sense, like where are people going to search? Where's the most popular places for people to search? It's online. The amount of traffic that Google actually gets is crazy. It's huge. I mean, it's actually about 8 times more than social media. So, I mean, driving people to online and Google it makes sense, right? I mean, that's where I'd go, obviously, when I'm going to search for a business that I don't know. And even if I do know the business, it's probably where I'm going to go research it. Look, what's one of the big benefits of the website? Look, it can position you guys as experts, and this is super important. I mean, like I mentioned before, you guys you've got to build this confidence and trust with total strangers, really, that your business can solve their problems. And to do that, you need to be seen as an expert, someone who can solve their problems. And a website gives you the capabilities to do that. Like it can show you professionalism, it can show you who you are, like what you want to talk about, like what you stand for. Has the space to do all this stuff, and this is why it's clearly a super important space. Look, leads and sales. I mean, your website it doesn't shut. Not like Steve and I turn off the stop taking calls at 7 o'clock. We are, your website is open 24/7, and Rod probably for that matter. Rod might work a bit later than us, but your website's never stopping. So it's a 24/7, sales member, and that website really should do a lot of that heavy lifting for you. If it's built right and it's got the right information in it, and it portrays and communicates that messaging, that point of difference, that why people should choose you. It's gonna do a lot of the heavy sales lifting for you. So this is why, again, we harp on the importance of getting your website right at the beginning, because it's going to do a lot of when people come there, it's going to convert these strangers, these visitors to your site. It's going to convert them into new customers. And the reality is, you own your website. I don't know if you guys know, but we do actually get asked a lot, I can get a social media platform for free. I don't have to pay for that. And it's true, you can. And you should do it. If you haven't got your Facebook page set up, you haven't got your LinkedIn profile, you haven't got your Instagram page, it's something that you definitely should look at doing if you haven't done it already. But the reality is, you don't own those pages. It's the actual social media platform that owns those pages. So they dictate what you can put on there. They dictate all the rules that go onto their platforms. While a website, you own it. So you can brand it, you can market it, you can position it yourselves the way you want to be seen. Steve, is there any other little tips of any other good reasons why we should be having a website that you can think of?
I mean, as well as the ownership, you can also, you get to design it how you want. You get to have the headlines you want. You get to, like you're saying, Mitch, you get to customize it how you want for your audience. So you can really build that trust, and you can't do that, in just the social media channels.
So trust and confidence is really important. You can build a website like a lot of you guys have done. We haven't obviously looked at them, but if it's not portraying that trust, if it looks like it might be homemade, if it's got spelling mistakes, if it's got grammar mistakes, if it loads slowly, if it's the photos aren't responsive, if the site doesn't work on mobile, all these little things, you're building an impression. You've got a first impression. You can't waste it. Strangers coming to your platform, they want to be confident, full of confidence that you can solve their problems. And this is what this website's got to portray them, and in a really quick way. I mean, the stats say that people spend about, I think it's 3 seconds before they leave, or I think it might even be less than that. But it's a minimal amount of time on a website before they make a decision whether they like you, whether they want to go further down the path of learning about how you can help them. So you've got to have it right, and you've got to have it right at the beginning. Any questions here? Well, yes.
Hiya. I'm just going to jump right in, but I just wanted to ask you, in your opinion, what are the key elements of a website that actually do portray that confidence and trust, in your opinion? What are the things that...
Great question. We put a lot of emphasis on obviously not only design, but the content that goes into it, Sina. So,
yep.
For example, and we're going to run through a couple of these sort of steps, I guess, the checklist of things that we go through, when we build a website in a sec. But like having your positioning statement, really, that first slide, the first screen you see, we call this above the fold. Like this has to be really clear, really quickly when people come to your site, because they do jump off if it's not clear, like what you do, why I should care, and how do I get it. So we call this like our lead proposition, but like and then the images have to respond. So like, I mean, there is a whole checklist of things which make a good website. The speed, the content, the images. Steve, throw out any others if you've got.
I mean, we've actually literally got a document called Elements of a Successful Homepage we can share with the group. But yeah, I mean, working down from the top down, there's that value proposition or the positioning statement. And then and underneath the positioning statement was that value proposition. Like, what value am I going to get as a customer or by doing business with you? And then that, sort of underneath that, we come down to other trust factors in terms of reviews, services. So yeah, we've got a document we can share with a group that actually is our Elements of a Successful Homepage, and that's around converting those visitors. So by converting, we mean turning that visitor into someone then who interacts with your business.
So having the copy right, Sina, is really important. Knowing like what your point of difference is, knowing who your customers are. Like this is like, so again, I guess at the beginning of the process, it's all about planning. We're all about planning. Rod, are you about planning? I think Rod's about planning too.
Absolutely.
So planning is important when you start a website. So like, again, we have a whole questionnaire when we send out to our clients and when people sort of want to do a website with us. We need some information, and you should also, this is something, again, we can share with the group, but you should know a lot of these questions about, why people should choose you over, your competitors. What's your point of difference? Who your target market is? Like the content that goes into the website, while you don't want it to be, obviously, it's a fine balance between design and content. You've got to have a mix. It does depend on the business. Like some businesses, you need to have more credibility. It's a longer sales process to get someone to convert. So you need have more more detail about your services, your products, your business. While other businesses, it's more images. Like if you've got for example, a design-based business or like a business like ours. Like people want to see what you can do, examples, pictures, the whole expression, pictures tells 1,000 words is important. Video, like these sort of, all this content, Sina, is important. So it's got to all work together, and it's got to tell this story about why you should use you, because there's a lot of competition out there. I mean, what's your business? Sorry.
So I've just set up a production company, and one of the things I was going to say, I was looking on your website, and I love the pic straight off when you come on of the octopus under the sea. Like it really captures your attention, and it's visual. It's just takes you in there, and that caught my attention because obviously I do filming, and I was going to ask you about that. Could I use a part of some footage that I've got, to
absolutely.
To make that, my sort of,
you probably see on our website there's lots of video. Video is really great, guys. I mean, video is super engaging, which is one thing that we want. We want to engage the audience. You don't want to bore them. You want to educate them, and people quite often get more information out of a video than they do reading text. People don't particularly love reading anymore. They want to be read too. So having video is something which we do harp on. Google really loves video. You'll see when you do Google searches now that video, Google will come almost at the top of the field, even above the ads. So having video in your marketing is something everyone should potentially think about. And again, it does come down to obviously the individual business. Every business is different, but I would I'll definitely be thinking for your business, showing examples of your video, examples of your work. Testimonials about clients saying good things about you, all these things you can put into video format. Look, it's only going to be beneficial for you.
Something I just wanted to ask you too, I use my LinkedIn page quite a bit, and I've got a good reach of people on that. And I've got quite a few audio interviews that I've done that I've got up there, but I can only use Dropbox because LinkedIn doesn't have that capacity. So for people who are on, have that Dropbox thing, they can access them, but otherwise they can't. So in terms of a website, just because it's different kinds of work that I've done and interviewing, how would that work? Like, would it be just like a link, or?
Yeah, well, you obviously store your videos on a platform, whether it's YouTube or Vimeo or somewhere along those lines. Vimeo.
Yeah, and with the sound as well, SoundCloud's pretty popular. You can embed that into the website. You can probably, when you share that as a link in LinkedIn, that gets embedded as a playhead as well. So okay. Dropbox, you need to think about is for file sharing. And although you can share audio interviews with Dropbox, it's not really for sharing audios in that way. So, I mean, SoundCloud would be what I would use to share audio. And then a lot of the time when you paste the link, it pastes with a playhead that you can just play. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, SoundCloud's the way to go for sharing audio.
Sounds good. Can I just ask one more question? And this is for you, Steve. I had a quick chat with you at the business planning workshop that was on recently. And I was asking about the WordPress, sort of sites. And you mentioned something that, because I know you guys don't use WordPress, right? And
we do, but we don't build in it as our primary, CMS of choice.
I remember you saying something about that you used to, because they have like open portals or something, and I got a bit confused at that point. But can you just sort of, in layman's terms, just give me that difference? I'm not pro one or the other. I'm just learning about this. But what do you use and why?
Look, I mean, just briefly, and there are different opinions on it, and I've been on both camps, but there's basically open source software. That's software where the software is free, the code's openly available, and it's available for the community to share and use. And then that's also built by the community, where community sort of chips in and they can add to it. And it's a community project. And being a very community-minded person, that really resonated with me for many years. Mm-hmm. However, if you have a really amazing company you work with, you pay for the software, you've got a team of paid engineers building it, keeping it secure, keeping it up to date, on live chat when you need support, and you pay for that, it feels to me now, as I guess been in this industry longer, you get a really good product that's supported, it's secure, it's actively maintained. I don't have to update plugins. I don't have to worry about if it's live or not. It just works all the time really well. And because I'm, these days just wanting a much easier life, having software that really supports my business, that I don't have to spend time worrying about other things, not my website. And that's what I feel that, using other platforms as opposed to WordPress gives me. Not scared every time I make an update, scared every time I make a plugin, worried the thing's going to fall over and, I'm going to lose leads or lose money in my business. So personally, I'm, although open source software has its place, if your goal isn't to get into web development, I reckon there's better platforms and easier things you can do and other things you can spend your time worrying about, other than whether your website's secure or not.
Yeah, I think it was something that I asked you because many years ago I was hacked. And, it happens, but, I was interested in what you were saying in relation to that and that this, with the, as you mentioned. Yeah.
Well, not everyone will have the same opinion, but that's where I'm at with it now. So,
good.
So, one of the reasons we've moved a little bit away from WordPress, I don't know who's got a WordPress site, but you obviously understand that WordPress has software that needs to be updated, just like your phone has software. You get those prompts every now and again from your phone. You've got to update your software, WordPress, you've got to update your software. If you don't update your software, which is really easy not to do because you probably don't know how to do it, it's something that a team probably needs to do, a digital team. That's what hackers are looking for. They're looking for vulnerabilities in sites, right. Software not being up to date, plug-in software that's not being up to date. Because you need, in any plug-in, which is all these additional add-ons for a website to do what you want it to do, they've all got software that runs them. Now, if you don't keep those up to date, like I said, that's when these stuff like hacking can happen. And it happens. We've had, I don't know how many this year, probably 3 or 4 clients this year, Steve, that site's been hacked and they've had to, and because once it's hacked, you don't really know what these hackers have left behind. So sometimes, worst case scenario, if we can't clean it, is we have to rebuild the whole site. So this is one of the reasons.
And that's when that's when the quality of your hosting matters, because the first thing you want to do when your site gets hacked is to restore it to a previous version. And then when you're hosting with someone like Crazy Domains and you say, "Oh, can you install a backup from last week?" and they don't have it or it doesn't work, then you're having to clean it, but then you don't know how well you can clean it. So that's why, it's not always the smartest decision getting the cheapest hosting you can get, especially if you want it backed up regularly and you to know those backups are done really well. And that's often what you're paying for with the more expensive hosting.
So I guess this is one of the reasons we've moved away from WordPress. Like there's more advanced CMS, content management systems out there. The one that we use is an agency-based system, and it's all embedded. So the software is constantly updated on a daily basis. So it means like that our sites can't get hacked, bottom line. Look, we'll keep moving. Look, I think we've jumped on this, the purpose of website, confidence and trust. It obviously makes sense. You've got to build this confidence and trust. You can't just expect people to buy from you if they don't like you, they don't trust you, they don't understand what you do. If your site doesn't really do that, and if trust and confidence, I mean by you having the right content, telling the right story, telling the right message, then it's going to be a harder slog for you to convert those new visitors into clients. So let's just jump into it. So I guess we're going to now talk about, I guess, what the steps we go through on a checklist. So this is stuff, even if you guys have done a website, you can still go back. Like I said, a website's never complete. We had a little blog about that the other day where I think we had some meme with a picture where a website's never finished because it's constantly being updated. But so you go and use some of these if you've got a website, you can still go back and look at these and update it and improve it. Look, firstly, and for those, this is, I guess, started with for the businesses who maybe don't have their website yet or maybe aren't happy with it. But the first thing we do, like I said, is planning, is knowing why we want a website. Because everybody has a different goal. Every business is different, right? So your business might just want to have a professional site to show some that you exist, to give you some presence on the web, which is totally cool. We've got lots of clients who do that. They don't need to be going out there finding work. The work comes to them, but when they get referred work, they want to show these customers or these new potential customers that they've got a website, that they're a real business, that they're professional. I guess then also you might be that you want to grow business. You've got a business which is new, but you need to you need to grow it. You need to build it. So the goal for that website would be different. Maybe it's you do want them to contact you. You do want them to email you. You want them to do something. So the website has a goal. We want when the person get there, they get enough information that they're going to action something, do an actionable. If it's an e-com, obviously we want them to do something different as well. So every business has a different goal. So knowing what your goals for your business are really important. So again, you got to get that clear at the beginning. Knowing who your competitors are, look, it makes a lot of sense to look at what your competitors are doing. No one's talking about copying, but seeing what your competitors are doing, taking the best elements and improving on it. I mean, looking at Steve and I, we're based in the Mornington, in Mornington, for those of you who know Mornington. And there's probably, I think there's 17 digital marketing agencies just in Mornington. So there's heaps of
before we came up with our name, we wrote down the name of every agency, and then we were looking at their names and looking what name we were giving ourselves, and then we were looking at what their point of difference was, or what they claimed to be their their value proposition, and we were using that information to try and stand out among that crowd.
So you should definitely know who your competitors are. Know what they're selling, what their price points are. If you can, do a bit of mystery shopping. See if they're responding to emails quickly. What's their website look like? What images are they using? What text are they using? I mean, a lot of stuff has been done before. I mean, it's very rare that we get totally unique. It's usually we're taking something and just improving on it. So knowing what your competitors are doing is a great starting point. Know your point of difference. I'm sure this is something that the Transcend guys talk about a lot. I'm pretty sure they do, but your POD, your point of difference, or your unique selling proposition, know what that is. And you've got to be able to tell people what that is pretty quickly. It's a tough thing to be able to talk. It's like talking about yourself. Nobody really loves that. But knowing what your point of difference is, why someone should use you opposed to what you do, why someone should use you, this is important. So this is sort of what we talk about with ours. This is what our tagline is on our website at the moment. Like when someone comes to it, we want it to be really clear, really quickly, what we do and why they should use us. So for us, it's website marketing and lead gen experts. So again, we're trying to build this confidence and trust that we're experts in what we do. We're building websites, we do lead generation, and we're experts. And then the second tagline is about gaining sales and driving the right online traffic to your business. So what we do and why you should care. These are two things you should try and get really clear at the beginning.
And the only thing I was going to add as well is it's about being clear, not clever with this text as well. Like, and the answer to confusion will always be no. So these messages, it's really about spelling it out really clearly.
So look, I'd love to, who's got a website here? Put your hand up. All right, Jody, tell me what your positioning statement would be on your website. Can you read it out for me? Or anybody else if Jody can't get to hers. So if you've got something, I'd be interested to know what you say.
Sorry, it's a weight loss hypnotherapy for women who are ready to stop dieting and start living.
Yeah, cool. So you're clear, like your weight loss hypnotherapy for women. So you know who your target market is. You know what. So you come into your website for the first time. You know what you do. You know who it's targeted at. Why I should care. So that's a really good effort. Did you write that?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice one.
Thanks.
So everybody can take a leaf out of Jody's book there. Like having a really clear lead statement, position statement, whatever you want to call it, about what you do, why I should give a shit, and how do I get it. They're the first things we talk about. And this is like, again, Joe, I'm saying about the content. Like, you can still have a video up there, but you can put text over the top of it. Like, it's sort of, there's ways to show both. All right, let's jump on to the next one, please. So one thing we do a lot when we talk about planning is we need to know what we're building. And so you should know as well, like what you're going to go into your website. So it's like an architect building a home without having any designs. You probably wouldn't do it, or you're going to do it badly. So knowing what we're going to build for our clients and for ourselves is really important. So we start with a homepage. Every business has a homepage. You might only have a one-page website. That's still a homepage. But most websites that we build have internal pages as well as a homepage. So a homepage, and we break it down between the sections that go into a homepage, because that's what a homepage typically is, sections. And then you read a little bit, and if you want to learn more, you click onto a button and it's going to take you to an internal page, which then tells you a bit more detail about that topic. This is a really high traffic page. Lots of people want to know who they're working with, bit about your brand, culture, how you started. All this sort of information is important. People, again, we're trying to build trust with strangers. So, there's quite often they want to know about who they're going to be working with. Services, obviously you've got to communicate what you do. And this, I guess, is again one of the benefits of a website as opposed to something like a Facebook page is you've got this space, and Google loves this. So if you wanted to actually, be found for a certain service or product, having its own service page or product page is important. So again, you can educate your customers, you can communicate your point of difference, you can talk to the people you want to tell your story to, and they get it. There's all sorts of pages, blogs, referral page, FAQs, I guess the point is you want to map out what you're going to be writing, what you're going to be building. All right. So again, knowing your target market, I guess out there, one of the most important things I can't stress enough is knowing who you're communicating to. This is the whole digital marketing 101 communication. Who are you communicating to? And I know, again, Transcend talk a lot about this sort of stuff. Knowing who your target market is and knowing where they sit. So where they view their content, that's another important thing. But knowing who your target market is, it's just gonna help you when you're writing your messaging. It's gonna help you when you're putting your images up. It's gonna help with a lot of information which goes onto not just your website, but all your marketing, across everything, is being clear who you're trying to talk to. Again, Steve mentioned it before. Confusion is the thing which we're trying to avoid. So being really sort of bespoke, niche, knowing tight, trying to figure out who it is you want to talk to, why it is you can help them, because these are the services you possess. But knowing who these target markets are is really important. We talked a bit before about the goals of websites and what they should do. every website is different. Most of you want probably people to call you or email you, and that makes sense. That's what we want. So, again, this is portrayed in what we call to action buttons. So I don't know do you guys know what call to action buttons are? Put your hand up if you know what a call to action button is. Excellent, Jody. You're all over it. But call to action buttons are buttons that go through the website, which we're guiding these people on the journey. So we're guiding these strangers through our website pages, and we want them to do something. So the amount of small business websites who get this wrong and don't have any call to action buttons is huge. I think it's something crazy like 50%. But if you don't tell people what you want them to do, they're not going to know. So this is why we have call to action buttons well placed throughout the page, guiding them. So it could be like learn more, contact now, book an appointment, buy, and they stand out, right? Like they're in a different color, maybe a different font, it's boxed. This stuff is really clear. We want people to know what to do. We just want to, because what we are doing on this website is you're guiding them through this journey, So this is path to purchase. So we want a good website will be really clear on what it is you're trying to communicate, and then really clear on the steps that they should be doing next. So again, confusion is we can avoid as much confusion as possible.
The other thing as well, I'd just quickly add, Mitch, is that having the call to actions in the wrong place, so landing on the website and then on the very first before you've even read anything other than the introduction, there's a button that says contact us, where you're probably not ready to contact them at that point. So making sure those call to actions make sense and they're placed in, at the right points of the website, I feel is also important too.
None of this stuff is rocket science. It all just, like Steve said, has to make sense. I mean, we're building websites here. We're not building spaceships, but there's still a process, and but using your common sense makes a lot of sense. So anyone who's building their own website, look, it's always good to get a second pair of eyes on that sort of stuff. Ask a stranger, ask a family friend who maybe doesn't know heaps about your business. Does this website is it clear? Is it concise? Is it confusing? Do you know what I want you to do? Because a website has a purpose. Everything in marketing should have a purpose, but your website, you really want someone to do something. And if they don't know, or they're a bit don't really get it, they're not going to do it. All right.
So Mitch, we've got a question from Hayley.
All right, Hayley.
Hand up.
Thanks, Rod. Mitch, I'm just curious as to, I guess with a website, how is it more important to have everything on the one page, or because there are also tabs as well? So I've been a little bit unsure as to whether I should be having the tabs and have that laid out in that part, or just have or have it just really clear on the homepage. And then, like you said, I didn't know what call to action buttons were. So
yeah. What's your business, Hayley?
Mine's is a counselling business.
Cool. So look, I mean, again, the homepage, that main page, which is where most of the traffic sits, most of the traffic makes a decision from this homepage. Look, it's typically broken down into sections, and you're going to have a section of a value proposition, why someone should work with you. Again, benefits, what the benefits they're going to get, why they should choose you, examples of your work, services, a bit about all these are sections. And then, it doesn't have to be heaps, Hayley. You don't have to put everything on the one page. If they want to then learn more about one of those, this is why we have a call to action button then, learn more, or read more, or they can then, there's enough information for them to get, this is what I want to know about, be able to find the information quite quickly. But then if they want to learn more, they click through to an internal page. So I guess a one-page sites, we don't build a lot of one-page sites for that very reason, because it's only one page. It's like you can't put too much information on one page, cluttering up stuff, bad design. Again, this is all stuff which is the no-nos. But unless it's for example, an ad, or where there's one service, we might make a landing page, or But I don't think there's a problem, Hayley, having your services or in tabs or boxes or anything like that. As long as there's like a little bit of information about what each one is, it's like well titled. So like having like your websites are really one of the really important things, guys, about websites is labeling, titles, and the way the content's written. So like the way you write copy for a website is totally different to the way you'd write copy for an article, right? So it's short sentences, it's paragraphs, it's punchy, it's bullet points. So you don't have to put too much. You put in like a whole chunk, an essay of text on a website or particularly on a homepage, people are just going to go, too hard. I can't confuse it. It looks shit. But saying that, so there's definitely heaps of designs, Hannah, and there is no right, to be honest with you, there is no right answer. There's no perfect and there's no right answer.
Okay.
But as long as it's like clearly designed, with sections, heading, a little bit of copy, and then something, like I said, a call to action button. Like if they know that if they want to read more, they can do it.
So is there I'm not saying there might be a rule of thumb with websites, but would there be like a limit on tabs? So just add 3?
How many have you got? 3, did you say?
Well, the way mine is set out is you select a tab, but it takes you to the same page, but it just takes you down the page. So it doesn't take you to another page. So I'm just wondering,
So you've got a one-page site where you click on something like in the menu and it goes and just drops down a little bit to that section. So you've got a one-page site, it sounds like. Again, Google, we're going to talk about SEO in a minute, but the reality is if it's all one page, it's really hard for Google to get it. If your purpose of your business is you want to grow, you want to get more business and you want to drive traffic to the website, traffic to the website is something which, Google, that's what, you got to, that for growing your business, you need more customers, right? You need people seeing your website. If it's all on one page, Google finds it really hard to know what that page is about, even though there's titles and stuff like that. This is why, for SEO purposes, which is something we'll talk about in a minute, we have internal pages because then Google ranks pages, not websites, basically, and you can have information on each of the page about the specific service you do. So then when somebody's searching for that service, Google knows that page is relevant and you're an authority in that space. So, So look.
To answer your question in another way, Hayley, as a rule of thumb, there should never be more than 7 items on a primary menu. So 7's the maximum, and you can obviously have drop down. So it could be services, could be one item, and you can have sort of other items nested under there. If you need more than that, or one thing we've been doing recently, I can put an example in the chat, is where we've had a secondary menu in the top right-hand corner, which could be, contacts, about, sort of secondary items, and then across the main menu we've listed the client's main services. So when someone arrives straight away, you can see straight away all the services that they offer rather than having to nest them under a service tab. So I'll put an example of one we updated to do that recently in the chat, and you'll get what I mean. So straight away you can see sort of what their services are. So there's sort of various options there, but never more than 7 from a user experience point of view.
Great. Thanks, Mitch. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, best ask Steve the tough questions.
No, both good answers. Thanks.
All right, let's domain names. I'm guessing you all know what a domain name is? Yes, no, good. Well, you've got to have a domain name, bottom line. So it's the URL. Ours is www.octopusdigital.com.au. So when you're starting out, particularly, you think, I've got this great name. I think when we started out, we were called Octopus 88. And we were like, yeah, that's cool. We liked it. And it was punchy. And we thought, and we did this cool logo. And then we did a little bit of research into Octopus 88. And it came up there was a drug dealer called Octopus 88.
In China.
So we were like, we probably don't want to be associated with a drug dealer. And maybe we should change our name. So look, researching your name, your business name, seeing if it's available on the domains. There's all these .aus that have just come out. So, there's always been .com, .com.au. Now there's .au. So owning your own domain name, checking that it's available, checking that it's not Google it. Google one thing I'm going to tell you all to do right now is Google your domain, Google your name. You don't want to be coming up with a drug dealer in China that's linked to your business, because that's not going to build a lot of confidence and trust it 100%. So look, just do your due diligence when you're doing that, so you don't go and waste all this time and energy like we did. Okay, is your brand ready? Like, have you got your logo? Logo is the first thing we start with. So making sure you have a logo is really important. There's lots of free platforms out there where you can go and get them done, on the cheap. You can use a graphic designer, which we both Transcend and Octopus Digital work with. They can vary in price, they can vary in quality, but you need a logo. It's sort of the first thing we actually start with when we're building a website. It's sort of the flow of the website, the colors, the style that really sort of affects the website. So I'm hoping you've all got a logo, but if you haven't, let's get one. Content creation, images. Look, again, we talked about content before, but content's important. We actually have an in-house copywriter who writes the copy for our websites, for all our client websites for that matter. We don't work any other way. But having your copy written in a way that doesn't have spelling mistakes, it's the grammar's right, all this sort of stuff is important. The way it's written, short, punchy sentences, and then it all links together. So your copy can be used in multiple formats. So digital marketing is not just about web, like we talked about before. It could be email marketing, it can be social media, all this content you need to be able to have the consistency throughout it. And then marketing. We're going to talk about SEO in a second, but reality is if you guys want to grow your businesses, you're going to have to, unfortunately, just building a website alone isn't enough. Now, it's a sort of a 1-2 step. So you build the website that builds the confidence, that builds the trust, but then you got to tell people about it. So there's lots of, there's well over 2 million small businesses just in Australia. I don't know how many of you guys have massive competition for your businesses, but if you do, you got to stand out some way. So you've got to market your website. So that's another step, but that can be stage 2. So first thing is get your website right. Then the second step is if you want to grow more business, your website, we look at ways to market it. Okay, I think that's it for me. Is that the next one? Is that the end of that? What's the next slide, Rod? All right, you guys now get to hear about SEO, and Steve's going to run you through that.
I'll just read this out. So the goal of the search engine is to give users the most relevant web page after they've made a search. And the goal of SEO is to optimize web pages so that they show at the top of the result pages for relevant keywords. So, the questions that we're going to talk about here is how is the relevancy calculated? What are the right keywords? And how can you make your websites rank? So relevancy. So it's about authority and trust. It's about the keywords that your websites use. And this is from Google's own page. It's how search works. And it's the most basic signal of information is relevant when a web page contains the same keywords as your search query. If those keywords appear on your page or they appear in the headings or body of your text, the information is likely to be relevant. So this is the information that Google's actually telling us on how they're, one of the factors of how their search engine works. So letting Google know what your website's about. So if you're a proximity-based business, so for example, we're based in Mornington. If we want people to know we're based in Mornington, if we don't mention the word Mornington on our website anywhere, Google has no idea that's where we are. So often in the footer, we may put Octopus Digital, Mornington, Australia, if that was important to us. So, using those keywords in your content that you want Google to know about is definitely going to help. So the correct keywords. So you can use Google's own tool. It's the Google Keyword Planner. And you can use this tool to find relevant keywords. We're not going to go into this in too much depth here, but I will. I can make a short video showing you how you can use the Google Keyword Planner, how you can search for keywords, and you can see how much volume there are, how many monthly searches, how competitive those terms are, and also how valuable those terms are in terms of Google Ads. Gives us an impression or an idea of how valuable or how much traffic is converting into business on those terms. So it's a free tool. It's called the Google Keyword Planner, and you want to get the right terms. So we're working with a plumber, but plumbing is a much highly searched term. So even those nuances between a plumber and plumbing is also important. So the cornerstone of any SEO campaign, we'll start with the keyword planning. So on-page SEO. So these are the activities that take place on your website. So hidden in the back of every page, and really every content management system allows you to do this, is to add the page titles, the meta tags, meta descriptions. This stuff's really important. And so you can see in the example here, the HTML, the meta tag page title is what shows in purple, and the meta tag description is what shows in the description after you've made a search. So in order of importance really is that page title that's in the back end of the site in your meta tags, and then the page titles and headings, and then the contents. So if you think of it as a newspaper, like the bigger the heading, the more important it is, and the more important it is, like Google can see that importance. So you wouldn't want to put like all your content in a H1 heading, but because you can, tell Google it's a H1, but you can make it really small, but they know about all those tricks. So, if your heading's, about the topic of your page, then make sure it's in a H1 tag. If you have a subheading, which is describing that service a bit more, make sure it's in a H2 tag. And that way Google can tell what is the most important parts of the content. On top of that is keyword frequency. So although you don't want to stuff keywords into your content, Google knows if that language is natural. Mention your keywords where appropriate and where it makes sense and where it's written for a human, and not a search engine. But you can mention them naturally, is also a good thing. And then interlinking pages on your website. So if I am writing a page about trauma counselling, and I've got another page about how the session works, and I mention how the session works in my content, I could hyperlink to that internal page, and Google would know that term's beneficial because it's linking to other relevant content internally. And the last thing here is to optimize your URLs. So if your website is example site and you've got a page about trauma counselling, that page could be trauma-counselling, and so just really keeping those keywords in the URLs just adds to Google's authority and trust that page is about that content, and it all just sort of comes in together as sort of part of a mix of on-page content optimization. So, typically the on-page SEO happens at the beginning of an SEO project, and that's the foundation based on the keywords, and that's setting up the website right. There's lots of other factors that we really, haven't had the chance to get into, but like they're the sort of the core factors of on-page. So once that's set up, the next thing we need to do is to let Google know you exist. And this is an ongoing activity that takes place as part of an SEO campaign. So this off-page SEO is what takes place off your website, primarily building backlinks. So in the eyes of Google, the more websites that link to your website, the more relevant you are, the more important you are, and the more authority you have. And then the better quality those backlinks are, the higher esteem Google can hold you in terms of sort of page authority. So there's a number of ways you can build these. So citations is something so local directories, you can add your business, you can link to your business, and then it's just building up that backlink score. So we typically would build citations every week as part of our SEO for our clients. There's also article sharing, where you could write an article on someone else's website and they can link back to you, and they could do the same for you. That sort of guest posting. So where you're writing for someone else, you can also share articles on blog networks as well. And then social media sharing. So if you are doing Facebook posts, not necessarily every one of them should be a sales post, but 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 could link back to your website, and then could also have your contact details, in which case now you've got Facebook linking to your website. So although doing these things individually won't necessarily rank you above your competitors, having those as part of your sort of ongoing activity and things you're thinking about in terms of off-page SEO is going to help Google know that your site is important. In terms of metrics, you could be looking at, there's a website that's called pingdom.com. And that's page loads, that measures your page load speed. So you can, if your website, we try to aim for a 3-second page load for all of our clients. Now, you might not always achieve that if you've got lots of videos or for some reason you need lots of images, but Google measures how fast a website loads, and also you don't want to have your visitors waiting as well. The bounce rate is something that you can see within Google Analytics and the dwell time. So basically, the bounce rate is the rate if someone comes to your website and they leave straight away. So typically between sort of 50 and 70% is average. So if your website's within that range, you're doing pretty well. If it's a lot lower than that, then maybe we need to look at what traffic you've got coming there, and maybe there's some mistakes on the page. And then lastly, we've got the click-through rate. So that's the rate of which someone goes to your website and then goes on to look at other pages internally. Well, that's it on SEO. So I'm not sure if we got questions or time for questions, Rod. Or you want to jump in, Mitch, and say anything?
Absolutely, we got time. So the floor is open for people to ask questions to Mitch and Stu.
We've got a list of questions here you guys should think about if you are engaging with a web team to build your website, or you had a website built by a team. These are some good questions you should be asking them or thinking about. So I think this presentation will be shared with everybody anyway. So you don't have to worry about it right now, but I've got a dog here too. Anyway, happy to field questions, or if people want to email us, they can email us. We've been listening to us for an hour, so I know everyone's probably a bit over Octopus Digital by now. But wait, I see a question. Hayley.
Yes, I do have a question. In terms of our website, because I know you and Steve have definitely highlighted that it needs to really work 24 hours, 7 days a week, whilst we're not, so how much involvement do we need to have in terms of, I guess, once we originally set up the site, to say with you guys, so we set up the site with you guys, and then how much involvement do we need to have in terms of the updating the software, I guess, introducing new content to keep people kind
engaged,
of engaged. Yeah.
I reckon you'd have to spend 8 hours a day.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Great joke. Good joke.
Yeah, is that the right answer? No. I mean, obviously stuff like content, it's not like you have to be constantly, on it all the time. The software, our platform does that automatically, so you don't have to worry about that. So that's one of the good things about the platform that we use. Look, when it comes to content, your business will pivot. There's no question things will change in your business. And copy is right now, might not be right in 6 months' time. But saying that, there's things to keep people engaged on the platform, and blogs is one of the ways people do that. Writing articles, writing tips, writing FAQs, they're going to grow. Look, you've got choices, and there's always choices. You can do it, or you've only got realistically, when you're running a business, you've got two options. You've got your time or you've got money. You can do it yourself, or you can pay someone to do it. Now, you've got to think about where's your time best spent. And so typically for us, I know that I can't build a house. So at the moment I've got to build a building my house. I wouldn't even try to do that. So you got to focus in staying your strengths, staying your swim lanes. But writing copy, there's plenty of resources out there for people to write content, make videos. I'd be leaning on them. If you want to do it on the cheap, there's places like Fiverr, Upworks, where you can hire people to do make videos, or you can obviously go local and deal with somebody from Australia who you probably you're going to have more hands-on involvement and better maybe a better delivery at the end. But yeah, it doesn't. It's not. Look, I don't think there is an answer, like how much, like an hour or a number, like of time is got to spend. But there is always stuff that you can be like. It's like a business. There's always things that could be going, but it'll probably never be perfect, to be honest with you. So I wouldn't stress too much about it.
I mean, I think it depends what you like doing. I mean, we're working with a myotherapist who hates social media, and then he's calling me about how much he should be posting on Facebook, and I'm telling him not to bother. He hates it.
Yeah.
So I mean, but he does like writing blogs and doing video blogs. So and we can transcribe those, and you can get videos. You can transcribe videos for free on YouTube just by clicking on the transcribe button. And then, you could paste that into social media if you wanted. So I think if you like writing, you've got stuff to write about, you've got, then you should definitely do that and try and post a blog on your website, once a month or once a week or once a fortnight, whenever you can. But if that's not something that you enjoy doing or you don't have the time to do, then, you either outsource it or you don't do it.
Yeah.
So, Google knows how long people spend on a blog as well. So, the idea of, we used to tell people to have to write 700 or 1,000 words, and that's just not true anymore. If you write a 300-word blog that's super engaging that people read, and then they want to work with you, I mean, that's a really good thing as well. I mean, I've literally read someone's blog, loved what they had to say, and then gone and worked with them. Yeah. And so, that's definitely more important than how often or how much, just doing stuff that you enjoy doing.
If you're trying to build an audience, Haley, and a database will be really important for most businesses out here, like having constant new clients coming through. So email is a big one. Like, it's really cost effective. You've just got to, but you've got to be all this stuff it's just a little bit about, particularly social media and email. It's a bit about consistency. So, look, there's lots of tools out there where you can, you sit down and write all your content, and then you can schedule it in, and it automatically hits stuff out, like throughout the course of a month or the course of a year. So you can map it all out pretty easily these days.
Okay, thanks, guys. That's amazing.
Sorry, guys,
or you can call us and we can do it for you.
Yeah.
Just jump in there, Mitch. Steve, Jody, you got your hand up there. You got a question?
Yes, mine was around SEOs. So do you give somebody, like the complete report where they can go off and do the work themselves, or are you more where you do the complete audit and then you go ahead and do the SEOs?
Both is, that's a good question. Both is pretty much the answer. So we've got clients that we are actively doing like SEO for, and that's one of our core services, and then we, go ahead, we do the work, we report to them their increase of traffic, and we do that as an ongoing activity. And we're also just in the process of launching a platform where you can actually, like, it's a DIY platform where it will give you the steps. You allocate how much time you want to spend every month to SEO, and it will tell you the tasks. So you might say you want to spend 3 or 4 hours a month on SEO. It will list the tasks that you can do within those 4 hours. And it has videos showing you like how to complete those tasks. And so, if you've got the time to do that and you've got the interest, because it can be a little bit technical. So if you really hate technical stuff and and your last thing you want to do is be spending lots of time, on your website figuring stuff out, then it's probably not a good idea to use the DIY platform. But if that stuff interests you and you kind of enjoy it like I do, then managing it yourself is definitely something that we've got a platform that allows you to do that.
And you mentioned earlier that you moved away from using WordPress. Do you work with people that have got a WordPress site?
Yeah, we haven't moved. We've moved away from ideally building websites in WordPress. Now there may be times when WordPress is suitable, and we definitely, I'm actively working on probably 4 or 5 WordPress websites a week, just because that's the nature of how popular WordPress is. It's just not necessarily in most cases, our preferred CMS to use for new builds. But yeah, we can't. I don't think there's no escaping WordPress, and we've got like sort of free developers that work in WordPress sort of daily.
Yeah. What platform do you use to build websites?
We use an agency-based platform that was formed. So it's an agency reseller platform. So it's like a custom platform.
Yeah, nice. Okay, thanks.
But feel free to reach out if you want to find out more about that and how that works. But yeah, WordPress has
pricing here, or is it better to have a conversation?
Pricing for what, Jody?
The SEO, whether somebody does it themselves.
So there's variations of SEO again. So it's probably a longer conversation, but there's depending on where you want to be found, are you a national or local? There's different packages. So that would probably be better if we had an email or a phone call about it. So
yeah,
I'd just take that one offline. We've also got Amanda with her hand up.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi, how you going?
Good, how are you?
Thank you for all the wonderful information. A cheeky question. And it's going to be, how long is a piece of string? I'm guessing you know what it's probably going to be. But how much would you basically expect to pay for a basic website?
Would $1 million be too much?
Oh, wow. Okay. Just a tad.
Just a tad? Okay. Well, some businesses do pay $1 million, but some businesses pay like $1,000. So there's lots of variations in between. Look, we do have a standard web package, which includes all sorts of good things like content writing and the design and and that's $5,000. So we have a payment plan structure as well, where you can do it over 12 months. But that's our standard website price. But again, there's always, bottom line is, it's probably, one of the questions we have in our questionnaire is what your budget is. So sometimes we can work around things. So, but yeah.
Not everyone's ready to work with an agency like ours, and we're always happy to sort of help point people in the right direction as well. And that may be, that could be building your own site or, using one of the other platforms that are out there. But you definitely, that $5,000 is broken down into time. So it's literally because we'll be spending, between sort of 50 and 60 hours on your project.
Right.
And that's what we need to do, because a lot of the time clients want digital marketing as well. So the website needs to be right, the branding needs to be right, the positioning needs to be right, the content needs to be right. It's like a watch. Every little bit needs to work so that we can help that business grow. So that literally, that price is based on time and effort, really, or time and materials.
Yeah. I guess for something like what I'm doing at the moment, that would be out of my price range. So I'd be looking for someone who would be able to do it at this point a bit less. But then if things grow and it gets better, then actually looking for something that's potentially more professional like you guys.
Sure.
Yeah, we have different partners as well, partners that can do websites that are less expensive than ours, and also, a lot of, not every client's suitable for us. Some, if they've got large, complex websites, that may not be what we want to look. We would push them to or direct them to, one of our other businesses that we partnered with to do that. So, our goal really, I like to feel that I come to work and my job is helping people. So, definitely feel free to give us a call, and we can sort of, work out, what direction we would advise you go in to sort of, achieve your goals.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Alternatively, Amanda, talk to Jamie and I, as we also know other partners that can support in this particular area.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like I've got all the questions out of the way, which is, thank God. I'm so exhausted.
You might need some trauma counselling, Mitch.
Yeah.
Crikey.
I saw Hayley's eyes light up then. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Any further questions before we finish from anybody? Last question.
Yeah.
All done. There you go, Mitch.
Done, dusted. The hammer's dropped.
They're exhausted.
Call us, email us, talk to the team. We're always happy to help. And like Steve said, we've got lots of partners, and we can always refer if it's not right for us. And not every business is right for us. We can probably still direct you and guide you. Cool. All right, guys. Nice to meet you all. I have people to serve, websites to build, SEO to do.
All right, very good. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Mitch. Thanks, Steve. And thanks, everybody, for attending.